Welcome to As the Story Grows. I'm Brian Patton. Today we welcome Phil and Marv from Floya to the podcast. The new Floya record, Yume, is out today on Rising Empire Records. The guys talk about their metalcore backgrounds, how they teamed up to start Floya, the origin of the band name, releasing their album single by single, and more. Yume is not your typical Rising Empire release, but I love the synth vibes and the huge pop hooks on this album, and I recommend giving it a spin today. If you're new to the podcast, thanks for listening. I'm currently releasing 3 episodes a week, so hit the subscribe button and don't miss an episode. You can join the As the Story Grows mailing list, support the show financially via Patreon, or just come hang out on the podcast Discord server. Links are in the show notes or at asthestorygrows.com. Come hang out. Enjoy today's chat with Floya. I'm going to start with this question. I think I know the answer. But how does a band like you guys end up on a Rising Empire Records?
That's a very fair question, dude.
I'm assuming it's because of Alaska.
You want to take that one?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Because already had connections and a network that, we had before with our previous bands. And Rising Empire was one of these contacts, so we just wrote an email to all old contacts when we knew we started, and we're just like, hey, this is a new project. Is anyone interested? And yes, they were the ones that were interested.
Was there any hesitation from the label or from you guys with signing with like a heavy music label?
Definitely, yeah.
I think so, yeah. I mean, I knew that they wanted to expand their sound a little bit. That's what they told us, and it's obviously fair. But like entering a roster that's primarily metal as a, let's say, alternative rock / EDM artist, it's quite the challenge because, their channels have a huge following, and we're very fortunate to be part of that. But I think a lot of people to this day probably don't really know what to do with our music, and that's absolutely fair. I get that.
Yeah.
If I would follow, I don't know, an EDM label and there would be a metal band in there, tough times.
Yeah, because I remember when the single dropped on YouTube, the first one, and I was like, oh cool, new Rising Empire band, and then I hit play and I was like, what is this?
Yeah, very
and basically ignored your band until I got the album stream, and I'm like, oh, the album is incredible, like it's just super catchy and like the hooks are great, it's a phenomenal like pop record, but like at first I was like, I have no idea what to do with this band on this label.
Yeah, I get that. Thank you for the compliment, though. We're glad that even if it's not your main thing, maybe you found some enjoyment in it.
Yeah. Let's go back in time. Where did each of you grow up?
Oh, well, I grew up around the area. There's an area in Germany that's called the Ruhr area. And that's basically like 5 or 6 cities that are very, very close to each other. It's just like, blurred lines, basically. I grew up in a town called Rade vom Wald. And you?
Yeah, my town is Recklinghausen. But I think we can tell for people in the US, it's like all in the area, an hour from Cologne. That's what people could picture, I think. Yeah.
I mean, now I'm living in Cologne, and probably most people are familiar with that city.
Yeah,
I think so.
For sure. What was growing up like?
Well, for me, it was terrible. Like, it was basically being a creative person in a very industrial-driven place. Like, people had a certain mindset, and that was not really about creativity or a different type of thinking, basically. So that was a thing to be dealt with. And as soon as I could, I moved into a bigger city, to collaborate with other artists. And somewhere along the lines of my life, I met this guy. Because I was supposed to help out on an Alaska tour. Their singer had just recently left, and I was filling his shoes for the tour, and then COVID hit, and the rest.
Yeah. What about you?
I think I grew up pretty good surroundings. Very thankful that my parents always supported the shit that I'm doing.
Which is not...
And of course, same things as Phil mentioned. It's not too easy to tell your parents or your friends and everyone that you want to make a living from music.
Yeah.
We're at a point where you obviously can't make a living at all from it.
Yeah.
Finding the starting point isn't that easy, but I was always lucky that I got friends that are involved in even this project, and I get a lot of support.
That's actually a funny thing, when you tell your parents that you want to do music as a career and they have never dabbled with that, they have never thought about doing it themselves. And to be fair, most people don't know how it works, to the normal, regular guy. It's just like either you're blown up rich or you're poor and on the streets. There's no middle ground. And that's obviously not the reality of things. But I get that. And if I would have if I had kids and I would have no idea about the music industry, I'd be concerned. So shout out to our parents for dealing with that.
Yeah, especially when you're a teenager and it's like, I'm just gonna go travel and play music, and it's like, no, you're not.
Yes, exactly that.
It's like, that's a terrible idea. You're like, no, this is the most natural thing in the world. Why would I not want to do this?
Right.
Yeah. Well, what got each of you into music and into that space of wanting to make music full time?
You want to go?
I think for me it was my cousin showing me Linkin Park when I was like 11 or something, and I was like, it was the first time hearing rock music in a certain way, like getting the vibe of it, getting the emotions of it, turning it up very loud. And I think, and even the game Guitar Hero, as funny as it sounds, that brought me into playing bass, and then from bass I switched to guitar after a few years.
Nice.
Yeah.
For me, it was really obvious. Like, I want to say almost from birth, but I was 2 years old when my dad handed me a pair of headphones and just placed me in front of a TV and played Peter Gabriel's Secret World, that concert tour that he did. And I thought, like, with 2 years old, you don't even know what cool is, but it did so much to me that was the coolest thing that I've ever seen to this day, that I thought I cannot be anything else. And that stayed that way, so that's where it began.
Yeah, your trajectory was set. It's funny how, like, at a certain point for a certain generation, like, how important both Guitar Hero and Linkin Park were. Like, you're not the first person to say those things. It's like, this for a lot of people, Guitar Hero was the first time they ever heard metal of any sort. Like,
yeah, I mean, if you think, like, if you have that plastic guitar in your hand and you're like, I'm pretty good at this, maybe I'll give the real thing a shot. It's not that far of a step, right?
No, especially when you play Rock Band and you have the drums. I mean, if you can get basic patterns, you can get them on a real drum set as well.
That's true.
Yeah, I think Rock Band, it was like Slayer's Rain and Blood, and it was like, you might as well just sit at a regular drum kit. That's how difficult that song was to play.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Because you guys were located semi close to big cities, I mean, was it easy to find a music scene and be involved when you were younger?
Oh, we're on very fertile ground here. Like, there's a lot coming from the area that we are in, so it wasn't really tough to connect with people who wanted to do this, like, even career-wise. It's not everybody, obviously. It's not everybody you meet that says, I want to make music a living. Obviously, that's a great commitment. But it wasn't too hard. I moved to the neighboring city to find people to do music with. I was very young at that time. And ultimately, like 2 or 3 years later, like when I was 20 or something, that's when I got my first record deal with a bunch of talented people that I found. So yeah, we are very fortunate that we have so many good and creative minds around here.
I think we have lots of youth culture places and stuff. Yeah, where you can easily arrange concerts and stuff. And yeah, I mean the metal scene. I think worldwide has a scene, and when we started, I think it was even bigger, the local scene, than it is nowadays. Like 10, 15 years ago, it was way bigger. Yeah. I think it got worse for people starting out now doing metal or heavier music. I think it is. Yeah. Of course, they have different ways to do it with social media and things. I mean, even YouTube wasn't really a thing when we started, or we just started getting a thing. So different times, different ways to go. Yeah.
Makes me feel old.
Maybe you are.
Take it back.
Talk to me about time the Valuator and how that got started.
Oh, right. Quite fun because it originated as a solo project, actually. Okay. And random, doom scrolling on Instagram, I found a video of a guitarist covering a Volume song. Okay. And back in the day, like when they released their first album, like Volumes, I was a huge fan. Was in brief contact with Diego when he came over the first time, and I hit up that guitarist and I said, like, you want to do shit? And we dabbled around a little bit and formed it from there, and one after one recruited members that could pull off what we were writing, and it went basically from there. It's not a complicated origin story.
Nice. So what led you guys to Long Branch Records?
They reached out to us directly. I think we've been invited to their headquarters after that and discussed the deal, and we just took it. So it was really a short way to go.
Yeah, nice. It's that thing when you're young and it's like someone's like, "Do you want a record deal?" And you're like, "Holy shit, my dreams have come true!" Right? Like,
yeah, it was pretty much like that. That was the second label that I have worked with in the past, and for the other guys, it was the first one. And obviously we were all excited and, heading down to their city, their headquarters, and to talk shop. That was a good experience.
Yeah. What about Alaska? How'd that band get started?
That's a long ass time ago.
I think it's been 2010 when previously before Alaska, we were called Burning Down Alaska. Okay. And 2010, we didn't even have a band name. And it all started out with the former drummer who left in 2016, I think. So me and him and me started the band. And we had lots of member changes before we were even called Burning Down Alaska. And it just, made me realize, okay, I think I would like to really do it seriously. And so you had to tell different people. They were nice people, but not really good at their instruments. Me neither at that time, but you had to sort things out to really get to a next point. And I think we did that for 3 to 4 years. Mm-hmm. Toby, the shouter, joined in 2013. And from there, we played, as I just mentioned, these youth culture places. I think we played over 200, 300 of these. Just self-organized shows, very small shows, but we did everything we can. And we then just went away, found the booker, found the label, toured a lot, and
Nice. Was it just being in the same scene that you two met and just having similar bands in a similar genre?
Yeah, we didn't know each other, but we both were in the same scene, playing shows.
We had the same producer.
Yeah,
actually. Yeah. So basically, we gave each other the handle of the door all the time without knowing it. So that was quite interesting. I mean, our producer at some point mentioned to me that he would be a very great guitarist, and I haven't checked out his work back then, and when I did, I was quite impressed. But yeah, after that, it was just like me. After I quit Time the Valuator, I was out with a friend eating at some random McDonald's in the town that I lived in back then. And he was like, you know what, dude, Alaska is looking for a fill-in singer. Do you want to give them a call? And I was like, no. Not because I didn't like the band, just because I wasn't in the right mindset to do that. Yeah. And he was like, dude, you should really do something with music again. It's been like 2 years since you have done anything. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. And he talked me into it. So I called our producer, and he established contact with Alaska. And, we went from there. Had a good audition.
Nice. How do two metalheads then transition into creating electronic rock pop music?
Well, I mean, while we both have a soft spot for heavy music, absolutely do, because we did it in the past, right? Mm-hmm. But I think there's so much more that we wanted to do, I think, with both bands probably. And things that we didn't get to do because of the musical restraints that both bands had, in a way, mm-hmm. self-inflicted. That was just like, yeah, let's just do something uplifting. Let's do something that, I only commit to something if the idea, like the ground concept, is appealing to me in a way where I'm like, yeah, this hasn't been done too much before, so let's try and take that and take it to the next step. Maybe if it's something something that's been done 1,000 times before, I'm probably not interested. Neither are you. And we were sitting there like, yeah, okay, we love, like, for example, Porter Robinson, great EDM artist, but we also love the likes of Bring Me the Horizon, for example. Mm-hmm. Yeah, where does that end? And then it was like taking one element and adding the other one on top and see, does it feel gimmicky? Does it feel like a rock band trying to implement some synth here and there? Or can we actually establish this as a pillar, a pillar of that sound that's as important as the rock side of it? So that's basically where our interests met.
Yeah, and it's been an interest that's always been there for me, even with Alaska. I mean, I think I wouldn't say Alaska was like the typical metalcore band, because if you would have removed the shouts and stuff, it would definitely be more an alternative rock band, instrumental-wise, than a metalcore band, I'd mm-hmm. say. But of course, that was the interesting point, or my vision back then, to be like, being a little softer, don't play too much breakdowns. I think we had one song that had a breakdown, and all others they never had a breakdown. It was like, yeah, the approach to make something more rock, soft, and combine it with the screams. Nice. So it's always been there, the interest in the pop music. And I think it's funny because when you go on tour with like other metalcore acts or heavier acts, at personal and after, beside the stage, they always listen to pop music.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
That's so true. I mean, it's only natural if you think about it, because if you are, making a living writing metal music and you hear it all day, every day, uh-huh. loses a bit of its appeal, and to, get those creative juices flowing again. It's mm-hmm. just standard procedure to inspire yourself with something entirely different, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was the Landmarks guy saying how much they're like big trap music fans. And
yeah.
That's what they're into. Yeah, awesome. No, it's interesting. Yeah, it's like even on your label, there are so many bands. Like I think about The City Is Ours, which I call them like boy band metalcore because like their clean vocals are so like nice and well produced. Like,
I hope you understand that I cannot stay. Don't expect you to feel the same. There's a dream that I have to chase.
How do you pronounce the band name?
Oh, it's basically free to interpret as you please, but we call it Floya.
Floya. Where'd that come from?
That's been a funny story. We went on a writing trip back in 2020 to Norway, and we took our producer and just trying to figure each other out basically and check if the chemistry is there or not, like personally, but also musically, obviously. And at some point we were like, yeah, this is actually working, and we sat down. There was a house library, and we just went through books trying to find anything. All the books were obviously in Norwegian, and we don't, for heaven's sake, we don't speak Norwegian, right?
Yeah.
So we just looked for something that looked appealing to foreigners like us, and didn't really find anything. And at some point Marvin looked at me and he was like, yeah, what about Floya? And I was like, where did that come from? Like, we've been working, we've been reading books and skipping pages to find anything interesting, and then he comes up with it. And it's actually a derivative of a mountain that is in Norway, which is called Floya. We changed the pronunciation and the lettering a little bit to make it our own, so it's basically a fictional word. But that was basically the inspiration behind that, because we started this project in Norway. So
nice. Album's called Yume. Where'd that title come from? I know it's the final track on the record.
Marv's been doing Alaska for how long? Like 9 years, I think. Something like that.
Yeah. Eight.
Right. I was pretty close. And I've been doing Time the Valuator for 4 years, and we put everything we had into that, right? And once I split from Time the Valuator and Marv finished his business with Alaska, we didn't know if we had the strength to do it all over, to basically restart this career. But both of us were like, yeah, if we're not trying this again, then it's a kiss goodbye to our careers in music. And that was something that we weren't willing to do. So basically it was restarting this career that kept the dream alive, to speak.
Yeah.
But I was looking at words, and I found that dream actually is Yume in Japanese. So that's why we chose that. I mean, using the word dream is a little watered down. So it paired really well with our aesthetics and what we're about, and we went for that. But that's the analogy of what that name means to me and to you.
Nice. Who did the album artwork?
More or less me, in combination with Tom Byrne, who's like our in-house designer from Australia. It's just
shout out to Tom. He's a great guy. If you haven't listened to him, he sings in Valiant Hearts and Galleons, and does a lot of creative stuff for us. We even have a song together. Oh, 2 songs together, actually. 3 with yours. Oh my God, we collaborated a lot. But yeah, he's a stellar dude, and we regularly, give him something to work on for Floya.
That's cool. Where'd the inspiration for that cover art come from?
Well, it was basically, working off of the album title, basically, which was Dream. So we knew we wanted something surreal, basically. And this album was always a little bit about water. I have so many water metaphors on this album, I can't even count them. And even if I tried, I'm sure I'll find another one later down the road. But we knew we wanted to do something with water, but make it surreal as well. And there were like 1,000 drafts, basically. And then mixing the blue with the yellow, like the water entering the room with the ocean behind that added something that I haven't seen so many times before. And I think the marriage of those both colors just works out really good.
Yeah, it's a very striking, beautiful visual, so it captures your attention.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
What was inspiring you as you were writing this album lyrically?
That's actually a great and an important question, because we're about to release a new single, Lights Out, in half an hour. And that was actually the first song we ever wrote together and recorded together, but we took a long time until we wanted to release it. And that was basically my first attempt to change my style of writing, like lyric writing, as Time the Valuator's album was profoundly sad. I remember one time I sat down with my dad, and he put the Time the Valuator record on, and he was reading the lyrics simultaneously, and he was like, after it was done, he was like, "Son, do we need to talk?" And I was like, "Shit." It was like a small epiphany to reflect on it and see how sad it is. And I really wanted to move away from that. I wanted to write uplifting music. I wanted to, share the happiness that I've been fortunate enough to experience in my life. And from there on out, everything changed for me lyrically. Like, I did not succeed in making Lights Out an uplifting song, I tell you that. But, straight after that came Wonders. Wonders was the first track we ever released, and that was really, it was like talking to myself basically and trying to motivate me and to look at the bright sides of life. And from there on out, it was just second nature, honestly. Like we had a musical motive that was uplifting and happy and celebratory of life, and lyrics write themselves from there on. So.
The album is out March 8th. You're releasing another single today, which means 9 of the 10 tracks from the album will be out. It's been a long rollout to get to the record. I mean, is it exciting that like every month, 2 months, you have a new single out that people can ingest and like something new and like, hey, our band's in the picture? Is like, talk to me, what led to that decision for the rollout that way? And does it lead to the album release being maybe a little anticlimactic?
Fair, absolutely fair. You want to go?
It's very common nowadays to just keep momentum, to really, I mean, you could rather say, instead of common, you could say it's necessary as a new artist, at least in my opinion, because otherwise you won't have a chance to break through all the noise and all the new artists every day. So of course it was like, we didn't really have to think about it, even before we signed with the Rising Empire. We were still like, okay, we do it DIY. We would have gone the same track.
Thing is, like, if you spoon feed the songs to the audience, they don't really have a choice. I know that sounds malicious, but what I'm trying to say with that is it gives every song that you worked on a fair chance of being listened to. Because if you release an album as a whole, I am like that myself, so I won't excuse myself or remove myself from that sensation. But if I get an album of an artist that I like, I'll give every song 30 seconds tops. If it doesn't catch my attention, then skip. And I will probably return to them once or twice, but then it's over for me. So, it's basically a way to stay relevant, because you have constant output, obviously, which is very vital to new artists, as Marvin said. But the other thing is it really honors the work that we put into it. Like there's a new Floya track, there isn't anything else that is new, it's just that one. And I know that it can be anticlimactic, but if you listen through the album as a whole, it paints a new picture as well. So, I bet that is something fans are looking forward to.
Yeah, there'll be people who are excited about it and go grab it on vinyl or CD or whatever, like all the same, like, or want the whole thing. But
Yeah. I mean, like, honestly, if the music market wouldn't be as flooded as it is today, it's like a blessing and a curse that everybody with a computer can make music these days. It's a blessing for us, obviously, but it's all the way harder to stick out in a way, with the volume that's just been being pushed every day, all day.
Right. And in any given week, there's 1,000 new singles and albums every week, and it's to stand out and get somebody to pay attention. It's difficult.
And you tend to be forgotten way quicker than like 10, 15 years ago. You disappear for half a year. Have you ever existed even?
Yeah.
That's what it feels like, So it's a tough situation for artists.
Yeah. Yeah. Album's out March 8th. What's this year look like? Are you guys going to try to hit the road, or are you just like planning more singles to come after the album drops? Or
we'll be supporting Siamese for 4 shows next month. After that, we have our special show planned with the release of the album. And yeah, after that, we will do a little headline run, mostly through Germany.
Nice.
Trying to jump on, as many festivals as possible in the summer here. And then hopefully, jump on a few other support tours maybe, but nothing specific yet. But we're just trying to get on the road as often as possible with the album.
I mean, honestly, like even the support run we did with Hold in Absence through Europe, that was like a last minute call. It was just like, hey, guys, are you available to do this? Yes, of course we are. And sometimes that happens. So, but long-term planning, that's basically all we've got lined up.
Nice. Has it been a little difficult to maybe find your lane, since you're both coming from metal backgrounds on a metal label? Like, has it been difficult to figure out like where you fit in the scene and with what bands make sense to tour with, or are you just open to whatever and just like letting fans discover you?
I think that's quite interesting, because if I look at Marvin and his playing style, like even in Alaska, right? He always had that funkish way of playing things. There's funk in everything that he does. The right hand's just always going like that. And it's just second nature to him. And that's actually deriving from a whole different genre than what he was doing back then. So I think for you, the switch wasn't hard at all. That's a guess.
No, I think I never really thought about, okay, I was this before and now I'm this.
That's fair.
It's just like, in the end, fans are fans, where they come from. Of course, it made us think, like, is it the right way to get placed in the metalcore scene? But in the end, it's music. So, and for us as a starting point, you can't go wrong with that, to just have an audience that you can reach.
Dude, we've been called 100 genres already. I don't even know what I've heard. Vibecore. I've heard this is metalcore. I've heard this is indie. This is dream pop, synthwave. You name it. Yeah. And you know what? I don't really give it that much attention, as everybody's entitled to their own opinion and how they feel about that, and that is the most important thing. I mean, the most important thing is that they find enjoyment in it. Yeah. No matter what they call it, I really don't care.
Yeah, true.
And switching it up for me was actually really easy, because I've been growing up with art pop. I was exposed to that, like David Bowie, Peter Gabriel. That was my jam. And that was what I learned to sing to. So it was also very, very second nature to me to switch that up. The lyrical part, that's an exemption. That was different. That was hard in a way, but the style of singing, I don't really have to compromise on much.
Thanks for listening to As the Story Grows. Our intro music was written and composed by Jeremy Hunt. The As the Story Grows theme is by Bob Nana. If you like what you hear, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and give us a rating and review. If you'd like to support the show financially, you can join us at patreon.com/asthestorygrows. Be a part of our community and join the ongoing conversation over on Discord. If you enjoy this episode, share it on social media with your friends. Much appreciated, and thanks for listening.
I never felt so young and alive as when I'm diving into a tune. And now I'm learning as I listen.